Okay, we are going to go into a lesson on equations of circles. Obviously, you know a circle is a round thing, but it also could be graphed on graph paper, on XY graph paper. And so let's just go over previous equations. This first equation is a linear equation. This is your typical y is equal to mx plus b. I just have an example. Y is equal to 2x plus 3. The 2 is the slope, and the 3 is the y-intercept. And that would create a straight line if we break out graph paper. And then there will be one change, and that change here makes it what is called a quadratic equation, and that is when you have this 2 here on the exponent. Y is equal to 2x plus 3. What that 2 does is if I break out graph paper and graph it, it forms this parabola here, a U-shaped graph. It doesn't go a complete circle, but it starts to bend. And that 2 right here is what makes a bend. So what makes a complete bend into a circle? Well, it has to do with the exponents, and it would look like this, and this is what we'll see today. Equations of circles, we're going to have a 2 over the x value and a 2 over the y value. And so it goes from bending and then just keeps bending around, and those 2's are going to create equations of circles. And so we're going to learn how to deal with these equations of circles. Get out your notes, 12-5. Okay, I'm assuming you got your notes out, 12-5. We are going to write what is called the standard equation of a circle. The main formula for the day is right here. And with a circle, unlike a straight line, there is no slope because it doesn't go up 1 across 2, up 1 across 2. The slope just keeps turning and turning and turning. It doesn't have a y-intercept because sometimes the circles might not even hit the y-axis. It might be over here, it might not hit anything. So there is no number that would be the slope number or the y-intercept number. But what a circle does have are two important ingredients. One, you got to know where the center is of the circle. It's going to be plotted on graph paper, and you got to know where that center is. The center in this equation is going to be noted by the letter h and k. Now, why h and k? I have no idea. But those will be numbers like 2, -3. But those will become numbers. And then also important to a circle is the radius, which of course will be denoted by the letter r. You got to know how far it is from the center. Knowing where the center is on the graph paper is one thing, and then you got to know what's the radius that creates that circle. So the equation of circle is here in red, and let's go to the problem number 1. It says, write the equation of a circle in standard form. So let's just copy this formula down from in the red box. It says x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. There seems to be a lot going on here. But you know you're going to have a circle when you have a square and a square. Okay, without those 2's there, you would have a straight line. All right. When you write the equation of a circle, all you need is the center piece and the radius piece. And this, they tell you the center is 3, -5, and the radius is 2. So what we're going to do is go x, you still leave it x, minus h. H is the center, in this case it's 3. We'll square it, plus y, always leave the y there, minus the center, this happens to be a -5, so we'll put a negative next to a negative, is equal to, the radius is 6, so 6 squared. Or you can put this, just kind of cleaning this up a little bit, x minus 3 squared in parentheses, y minus minus means a plus sign, squared, don't forget the squared, is equal to 6 times 6 is 36. And then this is the equation of a circle here. But you'll notice a 2 and a 2 here. When you square both the x number and the y number, you form a U-shaped graph. Okay. Without that, you would make a straight line. So that's going to be critical, those 2 red 2's. All right, let's go to actually number 3, and then we'll come back to number 2 here. Number 3 says, find the center and the radius of the circle, and then graph it. So here is the equation of a circle. The center piece, now here is the original formula. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. So they want to know what the center is in this equation here, in green. The center is going to be 2, 3, not negative 2, negative 3, because there is already a negative in the original equation. And so you just put the positive 2 right next to that h, and it becomes the negative 2. So be careful with that. The radius is going to be, whoops, it is not 16, it is 4. Because if you notice here where it says 16, that's really represented by r squared is 16. So r by itself is simply 4. Okay, so the radius is 4. So the center is 2, positive 2, positive 3, and the radius is 4. Now remember, the reason why it's positive 2, positive 3 is because the formula already starts you off with a negative negative. Okay, how do we graph this? Let's go to this graph paper if I can move up. Oh, it's not the greatest here. First thing we're going to do is plot the center, 2 over 3 up. So that would be right here. Now, you're going to just do the bestest you can when you graph a circle here, but what you're going to do is you have a radius of 4. That means you are 4 spaces from that centerpiece. So starting from the center, I'm just going to count 4 spaces to the right of that. I'll put a dot there. I'll put 4 spaces above it, put a dot there. 4 spaces below it, put a dot there, and 4 spaces underneath it, and to the left and to the right. Now don't play dot to dot, because if you play dot to dot, you're going to end up with a square, and we don't want a square, we want a circle. So as best you can, you are going to kind of sketch this thing roundish. Whoops, I lost something there. 4 spaces right there. And as best you can, we are going to just, I don't know how I can do this with this pen, but you're going to just smoothen this thing out. Whoops, I went a little bit past that, where it kind of looks like a circle. And so it's 4 inches this way, 4 units this way. At any point, it's 4 units. And that's how you graph it. Graph the center and then move 4 spaces from it, called the radius. All right, now we're going to move back to number 2. Number 2 here says, write the equation of a circle in standard form. Here, I'm just going to rewrite this new equation. X minus the center squared plus y minus the center squared is equal to the radius squared. Reading the directions again, write the equation of a circle with center 2-4 and passes through point -2, 1. So what we don't have, we do have the center, we don't have the radius. So we're going to have to calculate the radius. All right, so this is what we'll do. We know the center is 2, 4. That will be the h and a k value there in blue. And then we also know we have 1 point, -2 and a 1. That will be the x value. This will be the y value. So when I come to this formula, we're going to go x first. That happens to be -2 minus h, the center, which happens to be +2 squared, plus y, which happens to be this 1 here, minus, the formula says minus, the k value, which is 4, the center value, and that's equal to r squared. And we're going to try to figure out what r is in a second. So -2 times -2 is -4. We'll square that. Plus 1 minus 3 is 1 minus 4 is -3. Just doing the math here. Negative times negative is +16. 3 times 3 is 9. Boop, 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 boop. That's 25 is r squared. So the radius is 5. Now you're not quite done. Because they want the entire equation. So I'm going to erase some of this. Give myself some rooms here. So the entire equation will look like this. X minus the centerpiece, which is 2, which is right here in green. Square that, plus y minus the centerpiece, which again here is 4 in green, is equal to r squared, 5 squared. That's the equation of a circle. Center and the radius.